Okay, greetings everyone. It is I, Sir Brighthead. I don't know, my recording setup, man. It's too bright. It's too bright. I look bright, but I'm not bright. Anyway, today is a really big day on JP because we have just a absolutely massive bunch of updates. Now today we're going to be talking about Lena first because uh, good things come to those who wait. But today, as you can see, lots and lots of upgrades. So starting at the bottom, we have Minwoo, Vayne, Charlotte, Laswell, Katia, Grace, Lena, and Rain all getting upgraded, as well as a brand new weapon, or two new weapons, one for Lenna, one for Bartz, and a brand new VC that is essentially for physical-based units, primarily. So it's a pretty big day, but we're going to start off with Lena, not because she's bad, but because that is what I have opted to do. So starting off, let's take a cursory look at what her kit can effectively pump out in terms of stats. So as you can see here, 7,000 HP, 1,500 magic, 22 defense, 45 spirit, along with 101 speed and 410 dexterity. Now this is with Bahamut as well. You can see here we have the Dark Ramu card, which is definitely benefiting her, and even the brand new Dark Demon. And all in all, it does make Lena's look quite impressive. Her HP isn't incredibly high, but then we take a look at her resistances. 50% shooting resistance, 30% magic, 28% strike, and 27 on slash is actually overall impressive. Her status resistance isn't anything to write home about yet, but I do think that this unit, quite frankly, on an entire win-based party, is pretty nice. Again, let's just take a look over here at Fly Glassy. More physical, but in the same party kind of thing. And we can even take a look at Ayaka, who, yes, definitively is nowhere near, like, she isn't 140 or anything like that. But I think even with what we just talked about here, you can see the difference pretty night and day, even before we talk about 140s. Now, let's talk about her kit. So 90 cost, limited, 3 move, 1 jump, brand new Valentine Ildiras, which is Sorcerer Knight, Green Mage as well for sub, and Princess of Tycoon for her primary, hat, clothing, accessories, and pretty nice TMR. 389 HP, 4 defense, 14 spirit, and 7 critical evade, while also having an ability with 2 casts that gives magic plus 40% and critical evasion plus 25. Overall, it's a strong TMR for a mage-based team that also potentially protects them against critical attacks, which, sure, why not? 40% magic boost is also really strong. Master ability, 15% HP up, skill activation time down by 200 apiece. Dream ability gives 15 extra spirit for herself and critical evasion of 15. So now you can basically see where most of her stats are coming from on our friend unit. Really quickly, let's also, while we're talking about equipment, talk about her brand new rod. Wait, rod? Staff. Whatever. Staff rod. Never truly understood the difference, but doesn't matter. I'm just trying to cut through. So as you can see, it's a pretty high HP staff. Even the magic version is only 152, but it actually makes up for it for Lena by giving her a 15% HP boost, as well as 30% magic, 8% agility, while also the staff giving an extra healing power of 15%. Overall, a really... I have no idea if you could hear that or not, but anyway, my bath is ready. Yes, it's steamy in here. But yeah, this is an incredibly optimal piece of equipment for Lena. You're just getting a ton of boost here. You could go for the accuracy, but overall, magic or vitality if you're really looking for a little bit of extra HP and pushing her towards more defensive. Now, she is AI based, basically a kind of pure healer slash support unit. That is where her AI is positioned to be. And it's quite good because overall, I mean, if we just take a look at her support skill here, magic plus 24% with healing plus 20 and AoE resistance of 15, already pushing her more and more to be an incredibly defensive, hard to kill unit. We have from her other skill from her main job is basically skill activation time down by 250. So 450 between the two of them, which is pretty good. We'll take a look a little bit more into her stats about the casting time issue. Increased magic by 24%, AP consumption down by 25 is also a decent option if you are going more offensive with her, while also giving her some overall pretty good still defense. I mean, if you combine this with this ability, you are looking at like a pretty good hefty discount with a pretty big increase in her magic stat overall. As for debuff and magic resistance, you can potentially give her HP and earth resistance or buff duration plus 1 turn. Actually, kind of interesting overall, and we'll come back to these in a second. Counter ability. For primary counter, it seems that all of the FF5 units have a counter to the major damage type that they are dealing with. So here with Lena, it's countering magical damage by reducing the damage by 30%. It is a very high chance of activating, and it's quite strong overall. She also has the chance to counter missile damage by reducing the damage taken by 30%. As you've already seen, she has very high missile resistance, and this pushes it above and beyond that. She also has the Dispel debuff, but considering its short range, I think that the first two that we talked about are much better overall. With the missile resistance being very, very specifically good, I think that very clearly her primary counter is the one that you're almost always going to be running, providing that, you know, there's always a mage there, because you're on the average, you're probably going to do pretty well. Now, talking about her limit burst, this is a very powerful limit burst. HP heal of 310 times with a 25% protect and shell. Now, this is an insta-cast, insta-heal, very strong as you would expect from a limit burst, but it is a overall very good one for regenerating a lot of HP very quickly and also protecting the units with protect and shell, which is not something that is always super easily dispelled. There feels like there's a lot more guts and re-raise cancel nowadays than there is this. Now, talking about her green mage sub, wind resistance, a couple of damage abilities, including the big one here at a 220 mod, which given her DPS capabilities isn't terrible, isn't bad, and you can potentially get this casting time down quite a bit. Decreasing all elemental resistance by 25% also powers up other wind-based units. You can also increase agility for a unit by 40%, decrease the spirit on a unit by 40, or defense. Green Mage has a lot of interesting prospects with a lot of different teams. Depending on how you're running it, Lena can potentially wreck a lot of defense in a massive AoE. And then, you know, before that, she can buff agility for other units and also just deal damage and decrease elemental resistance. I don't think Green Mage is terrible on her because she has such a high magic stat, so she can still dish a lot of damage. And her support is more than likely going to cast these abilities to actually be quite useful. However, taking just a stab over here to the stabby one, gives her magic resistance and shell basically just way better against mages. Dealing damage while also the magic damage up for multiple turns that you can see right here. But also has the ability to cause disable. 200% mod on a fairly flexible ability with some chaining prospects as well, which is quite nice. And she actually gets re-raise. Boy, oh boy, am I split on this. In terms of sub-jobs, I really love Green Mage because it seems to work really well with what her AI will probably do. This is pre-testing kind of thing. But holy cow, having re-raise another accessible form of re-raise in her kit, this is a unit that you can definitely will be difficult to kill. Now, talking about her main job, what you have to give up for it is kind of a little bit difficult, as you can see here. We do have a damage ability that decreases attack and magic, basically limiting what your opponent can do. But we also have Restore AP by 40 for allies. So you can actually quite easily, from what I've seen so far, Lena is very good about casting this already on just units that she groups up with. And 40 AP is a huge amount of AP to be gifting to any unit in the game. So, as my like really early opinion, I don't know which I like here. This one is very anti-mage and also just capable of upping her damage options. Green Mage still has damage options, but has really nice support. And this is an AP battery. I honestly think that we have 3 really, really good options here. And we haven't even gotten into her main part of her kit. Primary job, actually, if you just get this unit right off the get-go, is really disappointing because she really doesn't have much to do to start. She can either restore HP, and this does have a 360 cast time, which isn't terrible. It is a single target heal, so it is, and it does have 6 cast, so it is readily available. She can also increase slash resistance while also giving protect for herself. And again, taking a look at what her unit was doing or already for slash resistance with this build, 50% slash resistance is a pretty good start before, really specifically building for it. So great. Next up is her large AoE heal. This does get upgraded into her EX with a increase of damage, physical damage or magical damage for the allies that are actually healed. Much in the same way that Bellis can give a speed boost, this unit can actually give a damage boost, which is really interesting for certain units in wind or other elements. And again, 360 cast time. So if you're particularly aiming to reduce cast time, this isn't too terribly much of a overall cost. Next up, increasing spirit for herself and allies, while also decreased chance of being targeted, is wonderful for this unit, just because it makes her way less likely to be actually killed, and 40 extra spirit on top of what the spirit stat we were already looking for was pretty insane, so great news here. Next up, another a damage ability that restores CT for herself. Again, casting time here, even a little lower than what it was on the other units, is capable of targeting others, and a 220 mod on it is pretty damage dealy. But the pièce de résistance is her EX improved ability of the re-raise. Now, she only has 1 cast of this, and there's probably a reason for that. 200% chance to cast auto revive for an ally, not self, if the target has 1 or more of the following effects. So re-raise, basically casting re-raise also gives earth resistance of 20%, gives increased elemental chain resistance of 40, and then it also casts auto revive on self, while at the same time giving the exact same benefits. This is a hell of a ability to look at. I mean, if it straight had 2 casts, it would be really just insanely strong. I mean, you're not only getting re-raise here, but if re-raise is not removed, the amount of chain resistance can potentially really mess over mono elemental teams. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think, obviously Bradley would just flat out die with this unit around, but this is a pretty big bonus, and in combination with the heals and the potential damage capability, Lena is not shy of all the things that she is capable of doing, whether it's massive AoE heals, whether it's support, whether it's auto re-raise, whether it's just a bunch of stuff here. Lena herself is quite difficult to kill and potentially more damage more successful at dealing damage than even units like Barris. Now, I'm not saying that she's straight better than Barris, because she isn't, we're not seeing just auto haste or whatnot. But the one thing I do want to point out really quickly before we go in any further is the fact that a straight flat agility increase is kind of more interesting than haste, as some units just have haste punishing abilities, as we'll get to when we talk about bards. But I actually really like Lena a lot. She doesn't rely on necessarily dirty tricks, but I think her kit is very, very complete, very flexible, very capable of dealing with multiple other units. Incredibly scary for a mage to go up against this unit because she will, it feels like, flat out stomp other mages, but still quite capable against physical units too. With the friend unit being such high damage resistance as well, while also sporting a fairly high magic attack, I quite like Lena overall, more than I actually thought I would. And the question of like becomes like, what exactly team do we want her on? Because currently it's like, well, I could see her potentially being really, really good on with a bunch of different units, but I think right now I'm just quite overall positive about how she is. So today we're going to be trying her out against Dark because it's a day that ends in Y. Okay, that's a little ridiculous, but seriously, it is just one of those things of like, who do we want to test? What do we want to test? Why do we want to test them? And I think this is where we want to go. But yeah, we're going to be doing a bunch of stuff here. One of the things I really, really want to run immediately is just her anti-magic ability, which is, I do believe this one, which we're just going to pump up as much anti-magic resistance, get that nice hate down to here. Just taking a quick look back at Lena in battle, we can see a spirit stat now of 85, which is really, really good in combination with 105 speed. Lena definitely no flies on her. So let's take a swing at her with Raph, who, of course, my Raph, a 115, not completely maxed yet, and slightly of a lower stat. So if we were to just compare her to another unit right now, I haven't built mine to particularly be DPS-y, but even then, I think you can see the capability of how much damage resistance she is already shutting down. So let's bring Lassie over here. We're going to give her a little bit of an upgrade too. And now Majin Fina. Now Majin Fina, a little bit controversial on JP because some people say she's not really particularly that good. So let's try attacking Flag Lassie. Okay. All right, that's pretty good. Let's take a look at Sephiroth. Sephiroth does have the barrier up 2,000 HP, 4,000 here, 3,000 here, and versus Lena, actually a fairly high amount that we are getting off of her first, possibly because of the chaining. Let's take a look and see. So a lot of spirit penetration, still quite capable of getting through this unit. Interesting. Now, we haven't run all of her abilities yet. We haven't really tried with Protect and Shell and Heal, so we're going to deal a little bit of damage here. Get a little bit of a heal there, ironically enough. And let's throw Sephiroth over here, seeing how much damage he is capable of dealing. So quite high, even with the amount of resistance that we do have on Lena, which is interesting. You can see here that Sephiroth is also dealing pretty high damage against other characters too. But maybe a little bit higher damage than I was initially thinking based on reading it and seeing her overall. But not a problem. We are just testing this out for the moment. So we'll get Sephiroth over here, get him to chill out. And now let's run this limit burst and just get that overall healing boost. No, actually before that, I do want to test out. We have two abilities here to see what kind of damage she is capable of dealing. A little bit of a accuracy issue here, but not too terribly much, but we can kind of see the damage that she is capable of dealing against other units. That's with her Aroga. And checking out here, just with her other ability, the debuffing one that we can see. So we're getting about 23, which is kind of what we were expecting. Also in combination with Rizzle, that would be more accessible healing. But let's run this Limit Burst. And I am paranoid. I don't remember if we have animations on. Definitely a little bit fast there, but you got a little bit of a taste of how the Limit Burst is. And let's just see what other units are capable of dealing. So we got about 3982 here. The Dark's still quite strong, but Wind's definitely not my strongest element. So let's just pass it on. Go a little bit further and get ready for seeing what Dark does now after Lena has had a little bit of healing. So that Protect and Shell now reducing that damage quite nicely to keep Lena going. AoE resistance, better than it was. All right. Pass a little bit here, see what Flag Glassy's DPS is capable of. Oh, you can see Flag Glassy, just no problem potentially. Don't do that. That's not a nice thing to do. Okay, so skipping ahead and getting back to Sephiroth here, we will shot. See. So yeah, overall, I'm interested in this. I'm curious as to what would particularly fix this. Like, I'm thinking particularly runes would be the one thing. She has a lot of like spirit stat and everything, but it doesn't seem like she has really much in the way of debuff resistance. So that does feel like it's potentially fixable with runes more than anything. Because like the stats are all there, everything looks good. So where is the issue coming from? And I just think that it might be just defense, ignore, spirit, ignore, everything like that. Taking a peek. Okay, all right. Give it a second. And we'll let Lena take a swing at their dome, shall we? Also, just to see the kind of casting time that we got on this. You can see other abilities. And a direct... Oh, no, that was just me hitting the wrong button. Curious. So, fairly high amount of damage there. But have no fear, she's not really that mean. We'll see what she can heal. So this one is her large AoE, which is also giving the physical damage up. So let's cast that. Again, looks like with the casting time down, considerably or a little bit faster. Also, one thing I want to point out is that next week, Sildra does come out, and Sildra is going to be a wind-based summon, probably for more in line with Lena, who is a magic user. I'm curious to see how that ends up shaping up the following week. Now I'm just going to give it a little bit of time here. Got that nice damage up now. We're going to get Sephiroth going up here because he's going to start wailing on me. So we can get out of this while I wrap my thoughts up. But let's just bring Rizel over here to see kind of damage that we are capable of dealing. We are going to be getting just more now with the DPS up. Makes me wish that I had actually finished her. I think Rizel, I'm a little bit far out from still finishing. Is what it is, right? So yeah, let's wrap up what I think here. So It's tough to say about the friend unit right now because it feels like potentially her kit is incomplete, and in combination with a little bit more defense and debuff resistance, she would be quite more capable at being as defensive as she initially seemed. Because you take a look at her kit, and we're looking at HP up, we're looking at decreasing skill activation, we're looking at spirit, critical evasion, and looking across, like, you can potentially build her more offense, although she will primarily focus on healing. You can look at she has some debuff resistance already in her kit, which potentially is something that is a little bit more run, although I think with TMR runes, you'd be able to get enough debuff resistance to make her overall just feeling generally stronger. But Lena's kit feels really, really flexible and really interesting. Like, she has the potential to power up other wind units, not necessarily just Fly Glassy. I mean, to leverage strike damage more, to leverage Rizel's abilities more. All of these things seem like they could make a really interesting wind-based team. And again, that re-raise that she is capable of doing is just so powerful and just so cool feeling. And yeah, I want Lena to be good. I really want her to be good because it definitely feels like there's enough there. It's just maybe this is one of those units where the friend unit doesn't shine quite as much. There is really, really powerful stuff, and any future wind unit will also benefit from Lena, which is a really important thing to remember. But yeah, so overall, I really like Lena. I wouldn't say that she's a must pull, but I think that she's a very interesting unit to be throwing on a wind-based team with a bunch of different wind-based units, both past, present, and future. Both magical and physical teams will benefit from her. It's just kind of a question for me if I can make her more defensive and more difficult to kill, because most of the stats look like they're already there. It's just I really want her to be potentially way tankier than she is, and I think that runes or just a different TMR will be the answer that just brings that all together. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I realize that it's quite long as I dig in depth, but all of the Final Fantasy V characters are really incredibly interesting thus far. I think that you'll see that as we get more into this event. So just to wrap up here, because I didn't show off the limit burst animation to full capability, I'll also just show this. This is the TMR space, very flexible on this TMR. Great for some mage units, and here you go. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your impressions of Lena and just how amazing, not amazing she is, everything like that, and see you next time.